Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Snipe, Celly. My name is Dan Bradley. Alongside me tonight, Joel Fernino. Joel, through no planning, no prior communication on our own, we both happen to be wearing green
Oh,
for the show
yes.
tonight. And I think this is the first time through 34 episodes that we've matched on what we're wearing during the shows. So that's a new one.
Interesting. Maybe that'll be the only thing we agree on during this episode.
It very likely
Maybe
could
not.
be. So
Maybe not. It's off season shit. It's not that. Also, hello everybody.
we'll see what happens. But yeah, hi. It's been a while. This is our first show in 2 weeks now. And this is really, I mean, it's the longest conversation I've had with you over the last 2 weeks as well. Well, probably.
It's been
pretty close.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week and a half or so. I mean, you saw how my weekend was with those Snapchats.
Yeah. You want to tell the people what happened there? Or just
yes,
you had an
absolutely.
adventure with Airbnb.
Yes, luckily it was Verbo. That's why it was actually a good experience. But so we do, a group of us and myself, we do a lake house trip every summer, and usually just book it through Airbnb or Verbo, whichever one has the better options, which nowadays we know how Airbnb is going, so Verbo is absolutely the better option. So we, that trip was supposed to be this weekend, and we get there on Thursday afternoon. A storm rolls through, and a tree decides to impale the house we're staying in. So knocking over power lines in its path. It was a pretty intense storm, all thinking. No one got hurt, so we could all kind of laugh about it that night and, joke around about it. It's not our house either, and the owners are giving a full refund. The owners were awesome, so it was just a very interesting way to start what was supposed to be a long 4-day weekend on a lake, on a boat, drinking.
The important part there is that everyone is okay. Property can be replaced, but you guys can't. So
exactly,
everyone was all right there, and yeah, quite the adventure. I was vacationing last week myself as well, so that it all kind of worked out. That
you went
not to have a show.
Yeah, you went to South Canada, right? I'm sorry, Minnesota.
Yeah, went back to Minnesota, spent a week there visiting friends and family. So that was a blast. It was nice to get some time away, and that's the good thing about the off season is we get in the routine of doing these shows every week and take a little more time, take some time off to relax and refresh and regroup, and hopefully come at it with a better show tonight. As a result, we're rested, we're refreshed, and we got plenty to talk about here. It has been
seriously
a blur through free agency so far in the NHL and just with the offseason as a whole. And I don't think there was any bigger move so far this offseason than the Johnny Gaudreau signing. Johnny Gaudreau to Columbus at the 11th hour, just a last-minute move. Said that he wanted out in Calgary and wasn't going to be able to work out a long-term deal there. Said he wanted to play closer to home. And we all thought that meant either New Jersey or Philadelphia, thinking that either of those two was going to be the spot where Gaudreau would land, and honestly, a difference maker for either franchise. But those talks kind of fell apart, and Gaudreau signs with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Joel, what was your reaction? Walk us through Gaudreau signing with the Blue Jackets.
I mean, initially, I know we were talking about that possibility that Gaudreau might not be back, but there was a past episode we were talking about it like, nah, I think Calgary will get it done. Like, you can't, you don't want to lose Johnny, you don't want to lose Johnny Gaudreau, so they'll get it done. And sure enough, they take those comments and throw them right back in our face. I was pretty shocked, especially like, not that Columbus isn't, and they've been rebuilding. I know they're kind of still rebuilding, but they're at this point now. I mean, that this is probably going to kickstart that rebuild, right? But I don't even like. It was just random. Plus, like, it came out at what was 7 years at $9.8 million each year.
Yeah, he signed a heck of a contract, but he left some money on the table as well.
Right.
So something like what would have been over the terms of the deal. Yeah, you're right. 7 years, 9.75 mil.
I rounded up.
Yeah. So left what sounded like about $15 million on the table by by going to Columbus versus what he would have staying in Calgary. Now, granted, it's more than just about the money. It's about where do you think you can win. It's about are you in a good spot for your family and your life away from the rink.
Right.
Wow, what a position to be in to say, you know what, keep the extra 15 million. I'm going to go over there.
Right. And that's kind of my thing I'm thinking about too. Like this, that number is, I mean, that's a high number for him. I mean, he's earned it. And I know the market is trending this way nowadays, right? Like gone are the days when, 10.5 mil for 2 players was holy crap, and it was the highest contract for how many years. Now that's chump change at this point. If you're at least if you're a perennial all-star, it doesn't really matter to what level. But that was my biggest shock too. It's like that number, while a good number, like it's not blow me out of the water. Like absolutely, I'll go wherever the hell you want me to go if you're paying me this money. Like that money is not that. So I'm like, he's going where he feels he's going to win. But did he not feel where Calgary ended their season last year? They are not making strides to continue being a pretty deep playoff contender the next couple of years. And that actually kind of teases, because now I'm actually going to say no, they're not, because of other things that have happened. But
well, and looking at Gaudreau's season too, I mean, 40 goals, 75 assists, 115 points. He was right there in the scoring race at the end of it. Had 14 points in 12 playoff games as well, 3 goals, 11 assists. Here's some good trivia for you. Who was the last 100-plus point player in a season to hit free agency and not re-sign with that team? So they had 100 points in the season with Team A, hit free agency, signed somewhere else with Team B. Who was the last where that was the case? Because this doesn't happen in the NFL or in the NHL, excuse me. It's not like the
NFL all the time.
Yeah, NFL or NBA, which is where I was going to go with that thought. Was
right, that too.
NBA, they'll trade 3 times in 4 years.
Oh my God, who? Can you give me like a decade at least?
It's been a while. It was in the 90s.
Oh geez.
Yeah,
I don't know. Let's just throw a name. Let's say Yager.
Not a bad guess, but no, that's not it. But on that tier,
I have no idea.
It was Wayne Gretzky.
Damn it, that was my next guess.
Yeah, Gretzky with he had 102 combined points over the 95-96 seasons. He played with the Kings and with St. Louis during that season. Didn't re-sign and then went to the New York Rangers where, oh, by the way, he just happened to put up 97 points in 82 games as a 36-year-old. No big deal.
No big deal. People do that.
The great one.
Whatever.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So the first 100-plus point player to hit free agency and not sign with their team since Wayne Gretzky. Like, this does not happen.
No.
In the NHL. We can't overstate that point enough.
Yeah, there's way more of a loyalty aspect in the NHL. You see way more of whether your opinion is to consider it a hometown discount or not. You definitely see those quote unquote hometown discounts happening a hell of a lot more. And hell, even then, like even if it's not a discount, like you see those teams that are like, look, you are our franchise. I should Taves and Kane, like they get signed, you keep them like that. Those types of players stay with either the team that drafted them, or if it wasn't the team that drafted them, like if they've been there for a solid probably 5 years, you more often than not see that loyalty kind of win out over just kind of jumping ship randomly for whatever reasons.
Well, especially if you're a contending team. And I mean, Calgary winning the division last year, it kind of fell apart in the playoffs. Their defense and goaltending in particular really let them down in that series. I was looking at that Edmonton and Calgary series, Battle of Alberta, thinking Calgary, it's going to be a lot of like 4-3 hockey games, and it's going to be intense. But I was thinking like 3. I wasn't thinking they were going to, get the brakes beat off them. I mean, it was insane.
Well, I mean, and to your point, like that's why it surprised me so much, because Calgary, was and maybe arguably still is built to continuously make the playoffs for at least the next few years or a couple of years now. And all that happened to them was they got McDavid did. They got Connor McDavid did. I'm trying to think of a verb for it. They got smacked in the face by Connor McDavid. Like you ran into.
They got 97.
There you go. That's. You know what? Mine sounded funnier. But yeah, like they got. They ran into arguably one of the greatest to ever do it by the time it's all said and done. Like that happens.
Yeah.
It happens in every sport all throughout history. Look at all the teams that ran into Michael Jordan's Bulls, for example, throughout the 90s. They were all damn good teams and damn good contenders, but you ran into the best to ever do it. It's just,
You're trying to give me 2 minutes for roughing topic here, aren't you?
What? No,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I could definitely do one on that, but I digress. Maybe another episode. You have it this week. But that's the thing. Like, I guess I just don't understand Calgary's thought process with this topic, what we're about to talk about. Like, why all of a sudden start shaking the globe up violently after one second round loss to, the best player that's currently in the league right now.
Well, not only that, but what if, for example, why didn't Calgary try and get a deal done before the draft this year? They let him walk for nothing.
Right.
Like even if you're getting a 7th round pick from a team that wants to try to work out a deal with Gaudreau before anybody else, you're throwing darts at the board there. Because if he's going to walk anyway, you try and start a bidding war to get at least a little leverage. And I would think a team like New Jersey, who a lot of prospects, a lot of assets, they had decent draft capital this year, not to mention the 2nd overall pick. If they really, really thought that they had a shot at getting a long-term deal done with New Jersey, I think if you're Calgary, you have to have tried. And I don't know that they didn't try, but the optics of it at least are terrible here, seeing a 100-plus point player who has really been the face of your franchise for a while, just walking in free agency for nothing. You get absolutely zero in return on that deal. It just looks absolutely brutal for Calgary coming off of the Gaudreau departure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I get your point. It's not to say like they didn't try. I don't think I love Johnny Gaudreau. I'd love to have him here, but I don't think New Jersey's given up 2nd overall, even in a regarded as a meh draft.
If it was for sure that you were going to, get not only the extension with Gaudreau, but get the extra year on it, because you can only sign 7 years as a free agent. But if you're signing with the team to stay there, you can get an 8th year on that deal. Gaudreau is going to sign a max extension, I absolutely give up the 2nd overall pick for him. Absolutely, I do.
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time a team got a player for a top 3 pick? I guess that's my question.
Ooh, the last.
And who was it? Right? Like.
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to look that up at some point while you're.
You can do that later when I'm ranting about my off-season issues.
Yeah, well, let's kind of segue away from Calgary for a moment. We'll double back there, but I do want to ask: is Columbus a playoff team next season? You bring in Johnny Gaudreau. I thought they had a heck of a draft. 2 solid defensemen in the 1st round. They picked up a guy in the 4th round who is 6'6", 236, who is just going to be a mauler for him a couple years from now. Not NHL ready at the moment, but really a good player there that is just going to be a tank on the bottom 6 for him. But short term, looking just at next year, is Columbus a playoff team next year?
I mean, you had a player like Johnny Gaudreau, not to mention the. Oh, geez, that website is laggy. Hold on. You had a player like Johnny Gaudreau, not to mention. I mean, they've kind of been building things like we forget Patrick Laine is still sitting over there in Columbus, right?
And
So
he
now
just
you got
inked a long-term deal too.
exactly.
Right?
So there's your two, you know, you know, lifetime Blue Jackets moving forward, right? There they
Mm-hmm.
are. There's your 1 and 2 right there. Um, I I might go out on a limb, and this might be really early. And hell, if we're talking betting, I would, depending on what the number is, I'd put some money on. Yeah, I think they could squeak their way into the playoffs next year. Hockey, amen. This league, you never know what the hell's gonna happen. Midway, almost midway through the regular season, we thought the Red Wings were going to squeak into the playoffs, which is, for what they've been doing lately, was unheard of. Obviously, it came to fruition that that didn't happen, and no one was really surprised. But
And looking at the teams that were ahead of Columbus last year, the Islanders, I don't think that's a team that took a step forward this offseason to get closer, especially, letting Barry Trotz go.
yep.
To me, that was a big, big loss.
Mm-hmm.
So Islanders, I could absolutely see Columbus making the jump there. The Ottawa Senators did get quite a bit better, but who's better between those two? Columbus was also ahead of Detroit last season, and while Detroit, I think, is looking really good for next year, I think Boston is going to take a fall because they've got a ton of players that are going to be out for at least half the season. Pastrnak, McAvoy, Marchand all going to miss considerable time to start next season. Bergeron, what's going on there? Are we going to see a type of deal where, like with Tuukka Rask this year, kind of sits and waits on it too long and then realizes that it's time to hang him up?
Mm-hmm.
What's that going to entail for Boston? So I think they are a fringe playoff team next year, kind of at worst at this point. I would say, with knowing that they just put up 81 points last season, you go out and make a splash and you land Johnny Gaudreau, I think 90 points kind of almost has to be the expectation for
Yeah.
Columbus going into next season.
No, I totally agree. I mean, you make that big of a splash like that. That is a move that if you were kind of you didn't make the playoffs, but you maybe had the potential to do it. This is the type of splash that tips you over that point. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, not to mention, I mean, I don't know. You might know a lot more of their like kind of deeper defenseman names, but obviously Zach Werenski and Adam
Mm-hmm.
Boquist. I mean, that alone, like, that's great. I love their goaltending situation. I love me some Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a dude. We don't do the regular season thing until, I don't know, some episode in the middle of September probably. But
Mm-hmm.
dude, I'd go out on a limb and toss some money down on Columbus making the playoffs next year.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a wild card team, nothing crazy, but
Well, defensively too, they did just sign Eric Goodbranson, who
yes,
you have some familiarity with. Not necessarily the best defensive defenseman, but somebody who
why do I have
moves.
familiarity with Eric? What? Why?
Or never mind.
You're
I had
thinking
names
Eric
crossed up.
Gustafson.
I was thinking Gustafson.
I
Sorry.
was about to say,
No,
if you're
but
telling me right now as an argument for them to make the playoffs, they signed Eric
no.
Gustafson, I
Yeah,
would say you're
yeah.
high. You're high.
Yeah. That's really a big backup. Goodbranson, someone who can move the puck well in the offensive zone. Defensive zone is a little bit different story, but somebody who probably is going to play on the power play for them. Signed a decent type of deal there too, to get to play. So I would think he would be seeing that playing time. Cole Sillinger is ready to take the next step. They get Kent Johnson into the lineup as well too. Some early round draft picks in the first round, making an impact on the lineup. Alexander Texier, Igor Chinikov, those guys going to make a difference.
Mix in some good veteran presence with, we got Jacob Voracek, Gustav Nyquist,
Mm-hmm.
Boone Jenner has proven to be a pretty decent player. Like, hey, man.
Yeah, they're a fringe team, I think. And certainly, I would think 2 years from now, 3 years from now, especially when you get their draft picks from this year in the lineup, David Juricek, that kid is going to be special. He is going to be a very, very good defenseman.
How old is Gaudreau again? Is
Good
28. He's
question.
28. He's 28.
Yeah, he's 28.
He's 28.
Birthday in August, though, so he will be.
So he'll be 29 in a month.
He'll be 29 at the start of next season.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I go out on a limb. I put some money on it.
I like it.
Yeah.
So going back to Calgary, then
this blew my friggin' mind.
Seeing that Johnny Gaudreau left, I think that might have been a catalyst for what happened with Matthew Tkachuk, where he was traded to the Florida Panthers and signed an 8-year extension in Florida for Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar, Cole Schwint, and a first-round pick in 2025 that is lottery protected. On paper, I look at that and go, what a return for Calgary. But as that deal has kind of come to fruition a little bit more, letting the details marinate, Weegar and Huberdeau are both in the last year of their deals as well. So Calgary in a bit of a precarious spot here with getting those two signed to long-term extensions. If either of them does not re-sign in Calgary, maybe Florida did win this trade after all. But an absolutely massive deal for Florida where you're trading, again, 100-plus point players. Both Huberdeau and Tkachuk were over 100 points during the regular season last year. Where Joel talk about what that means for both of these clubs, both short and long term, with those deals.
Dude, I saw that come through, mind you, while I actually saw it happen the morning after a tree just flew through a house.
Right.
Dude, I was like, what? Actually, I'm pretty sure my exact tweet I shared was just, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's all I could say. I was like, where the hell did this even come from? Like, Florida, I get it. They got swept by the team that ultimately ended up making it again to the two-time defending champs no longer. But they were a juggernaut throughout the regular season. And all signs were pointing to what the hell was changing. Nothing. And to me, again, it was a one-time deal. I get it. You got to be active and on your feet, and when you're a general manager. But like, I don't get what the hell's going on with both Calgary and Florida. Like, well, shit, we lost in the second round to two teams that were clearly riding heaters, especially one team being two-time defending champions.
Mm-hmm.
Blow it all up. Do something crazy. I don't understand. I mean, I get being drastic. Maybe like, hey, we need to make a splash. Maybe this will be the tipping point. Maybe we get past the second round this time. But what the like? I think so. Initially, I agree with you. I initially looked at this and said, what in the absolute hell is Florida doing? But you're right. Both players are, both 100-point players. Huberdeau deeper into the 100-point, at least last season. I mean, they're both same age, I believe. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Tkachuk is 24. Yeah, Huberdeau's 29.
Yeah, so Tkachuk is 24, Huberdeau 29.
So I guess my only
Huberdeau tied with Johnny Gaudreau for second in points.
Yeah,
Tkachuk right behind at 104. So
right behind.
Well, I mean, you look at the list; it's close.
I get it; it's still 11 points, though.
Yeah, but third versus eighth in the league in points, and you're talking about McDavid, Gaudreau, Huberdeau, Draisaitl, Kaprizov, Matthews, Stamkos. That's a pretty good list to be a part of.
Oh no, I agree. So to me, yeah, initially I was like, plus along with Mackenzie Weegar, who was, that was a name that was showing up a lot, plus a first-round pick. Like,
yeah.
To me, that first-round pick had to be some kind of sweetener that maybe had to do with both their age difference and the fact that their contracts are about to be up. So
a little extra insurance, yeah.
That's a big freaking insurance policy, a first-round pick. Not that, I mean, neither of these teams are going to have a high first-round pick, coming up, but still, it's a first-round pick. So to me, like, I think Florida did kind of overpay. However, and actually, I want to look at this too. Like, I want to look at this season by season. Tkachuk's put. So why I initially was like, all right, Florida just like quote unquote sold the farm for Matthew Tkachuk. But it's kind of like the gamble. Like, I mean, clearly you're gonna I don't know if they actually signed him to anything after they did. Well, Tkachuk's on a contract right now, right?
Yeah, he signed an extension.
Okay. So I mean, yes, he put up 104 points last year. Besides that, I'm not questioning Matthew Tkachuk. Like, kid's a stud. But besides that 104-point season, we got a 43-point season last year, or the prior year, 61 points, 77. Like,
considering
he's
the
a stud.
Factor, but...
I get it, but he is a stud. I'm not going to say, but you get one 100-point season, and I know Huberdeau had never. Huberdeau had never eclipsed 100 points yet either. So this was both of their first times in their careers eclipsing 100 points.
Right, but this is the fourth consecutive season where Huberdeau has exceeded a point per game pace.
Exactly.
The first time in Tkachuk's career that he had done that. So
right. So, and again, age difference. There's a 5-year, call it 6-year difference, depending on when their birthdays are. So yeah, initially I was like, I don't know what the hell just happened. Florida, you are beyond just stupid. But took a look at it a little deeper, and now I started to agree here. Like, well, Matthew Tkachuk's only 24 years old. He signed an extension. He is a stud. And not to mention, like you said, Huberdeau has his contract's about to be up, right? So they got to get something done, or he's just going to walk. I mean, I feel like Florida was probably just like, well, screw trying to get a contract done. Let's just trade him. Like, that's the only thing that I can think of. I don't know. This was nuts. Calgary, and on Calgary's end, I mean, shit. If Huberdeau, even though he's about to be 30 soon, I don't know, man. maybe Calgary and Florida were both just like, shit, we lost in the second round. Let's swap star players. Let's see if that does it.
You never know. Sometimes that kind of change of scenery can spark something. It can be a better organizational fit. I think, at least from a style of play standpoint, Tkachuk adds some grittiness to the lineup that Florida, I don't want to say they lacked, but just looking at how they really got roughed up in the series against Tampa Bay, I can see how that would be something that was a considering factor in this type of deal. And that's not to say that Huberdeau isn't a tough player. He is. But I think when you talk about the physical element of his game, Huberdeau's not a hitter. Tkachuk will run you through the boards. There's no doubt about that. So,
oh yeah, yeah. I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy.
It really is.
Dude, I don't even think we don't have to get into this, but the trades this offseason have been crazy. This was obviously this takes the cake so far, obviously. But I mean, not to mention, what was the date on this? This was like last week. I mean, we had, Brent Burns heading to the Hurricanes.
Yeah. Brent Burns to the Hurricanes, Max Pacioretty to the Hurricanes, and literally nothing on the return for Patrick. So let's talk about this one for a minute here. I didn't make a banner for this, and I wish I had. In the last 2 off seasons, the Golden Knights have traded away the Vezina Trophy winning goaltender and their leading goal scorer and gotten literally nothing in return. Asset management, baby.
Dude, I don't know what's going on with Vegas. I don't know if they were just like, all right, those first 5 years, we were badasses. We got our fan base built. Now let's tank. Like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, let's tank while we also do things like trade for Jack Eichel.
For Jack Eichel.
And sign all of our vets to long-term extensions and really just rack it all up.
I mean, I still would take Jack Eichel over Max Pacioretty, but
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know.
For the age alone, dude.
Yeah, there's that. And I don't know. Because like the neck thing still scares me. Like, yes, I'm glad that his surgery went well. I'm glad that he was able to play. I'm still concerned there. Yes, the prognosis is good. I think it's a little more concerning. Let's throw it up on Twitter and on Facebook afterwards, and we'll get a poll going there and see what people think. Who would you rather have? You know, I think for sure next year, for me, it's Pacioretty. But if you talk about over the next 4 or 5 years, I think that definitely gets closer there too. So it's close. But anyway, to that point, Vegas scaring me. They missed the playoffs this year. I'm honestly worried where are they going to go next year? And I was going to ask you, is Calgary a playoff team next year?
Yes. Yes.
It's such a bad division.
To me, there is no question. Calgary's absolutely a just because you traded Matthew Tkachuk. If we're talking the here and now, that means pretty much age has nothing to do with this. You just brought in Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar. Yes, you lost Matthew Tkachuk, but
and Gaudreau
and Johnny Gaudreau. Like, I get it, but I still.
I mean, Edmonton is going to be right there. Edmonton's a playoff team.
They get a goalie.
The Kings.
I'm still convinced the Oilers can win a cup if they just figure out the damn goalie situation.
Yeah. Well, and the Kings, I think the Kings are going to be really, really good next year.
I think
that might be your division winner.
Whoa! Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about
they get Doughty and Walker back healthy on the blue line. They added Kevin Fiala to pair with former teammate in Nashville, Victor Arvidsson, on that top line. You look at all of the young guys they have that are just starting to break out. The Kings are on the upswing for sure.
Oh,
I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I really wouldn't.
God, I miss that kid. They get Philip Deneau. God, I miss that kid.
He's so good.
I know. Yeah, dude, you could take all of our cap casualty players, and they're probably a cup contending team.
They'd be halfway decent. What would you go on your top line there? Panarin. Let's see. Probably you could go Deneau up the middle
if they're all in their primes. Cap casualty players.
Well, even just looking at it now.
Oh, now
with the landscape now of what it's been over the last, we'll say 10 years.
Well,
Teravainen, is that who you put on that first line? So you go Panarin.
Some of those aren't. This is probably another episode. I'd actually love this.
I guess it'd be 12, not 10.
Plus, not to mention, some of those guys you're naming aren't necessarily cap casualties. Some of those were. I'm Stan Bowman, and I have the ego the size of a fucking country, and I'm going to trade all these players and try and bring in who I think is good, and we're going to win more cups. Oh no, what have I done? That's what that is.
Let's make that the homework assignment for our next episode 2 weeks from now. We'll be put together the starting lineup of players that the Hawks traded away or did not re-sign.
I will gladly do that.
Yeah, that's your homework assignment. It'll be take us back to school as we head into August with a lesson on the Hawks history there.
Absolutely. Easy.
So
2 weeks to do it too.
Yeah, 2 weeks. You got plenty of time. You can do
Guarantee you, I won't do it until the Monday before that
that.
show.
Yeah, that sounds about right. If I know one thing about you, that is exactly how that would go.
Still gets done.
Still a couple big name free agents out there as well. Nazem Kadri, Phil Kessel come to mind as two guys that still haven't signed yet. And Joel, I want to ask you first, where do you think either of them will sign, or in Kessel's case, will someone sign Phil Kessel ahead of the start of next season?
I got to get this out of the way before I actually answer. I saw some tweets going around in the middle of all of our rebuild moves we're making, and just if we're gonna end up hitting a cap floor somehow, bring Phil Kessel to Chicago. No, never mind.
I hate that you just said that. Every fiber of my being, as a Phil Kessel fan,
I think,
someone who likes his game a lot, I absolutely hate that you just said send him to Chicago.
I don't even want him. I don't care what we're doing here. We're obviously not going to do anything next year, but I still don't care. I don't want him. However, if for nothing else but to just see you cringe every time he's on the ice wearing that Hawk sweater, I'm game. Bring him here.
You know he'd only play there till about mid-February, though. He'd sign a 1-year, like, low cap hit type of deal, and then Hawks would trade him at the deadline to a contender.
For a 7th round pick.
I think you could get even better on the return than that, especially if you're retaining salary.
Maybe, hey, we put him on a line with Patrick Kane, and he puts up career numbers, and then we get his trade value up. It's actually
make him your power play specialist for a contending team.
It's not a bad idea.
It could happen. Imagine if they put him on McDavid's line. If somehow Edmonton figures out a way, and you put Kessel out there with McDavid.
I don't think Kessel could keep up with McDavid.
Oh, he absolutely can't. He'd be the 4th man into the zone behind one of the D-men.
4th?
Yeah, behind one of the D-men.
No, I think he'd be behind both the D-men. He's got to run to the bench and get himself a hot dog real quick.
Gonna squirt a Gatorade on the way by just to rehydrate and finish out the shift.
No, but
I love Kessel though.
Oh, I do too. He's
hate
great.
The drop off. I mean, it's been so bad.
It's okay,
but he's still so good offensively. Like,
well, and his hockey IQ too.
If you could get him at like a 30-second shift and run 30-second shifts while everybody else is running 45, give him all of the power play time and then just sit him the rest of the period, he could still be a very, very good asset for somebody. It's just there's no defensive upside to his game right now. So let me ask this. I'll start with Phil Kessel. Is anybody going to sign Phil Kessel?
I mean, I was just about to pitch something to you. Does he call it a career?
He might.
Does he retire? Does he kind of say like, well, or does it lead to that? So does any team sign him, and then all of a sudden he's sitting there like, okay, well, nobody signed me. This is kind of stupid. I'm just going to call it. Now, I don't think all right. I think a team does sign him. To me, this could be a scenario of, and granted, I believe I can't remember if we did this via signing or via trade. I think it was, we just signed him, but this could be like a Kimmo Timonen type of situation. One of the teams that's absolutely favored to win the cup. Why not? We got the money to spend. Let's bring Phil Kessel in. He gives us a nice veteran presence. He still has the scoring touch, whatever that might be. You toss him on a 3rd or 4th line. I mean, it's a pretty fun little 3rd or 4th liner. That Phil Kessel, right? Like he was rocking he was rocking top 6 when he was in his prime, obviously. So maybe that is the next kind of Kimmo Timonen type of scenario where you put him on a Colorado or a New York, the Rangers, or
Rangers,
right?
That's I gotta look. Okay, they have 4.8 mil in cap room.
You can get
Kako is their only player that they're still waiting to re-sign.
What is he? Is he? Do they have to do that this year?
Capo Kako? Yeah, he's a restricted free agent
right now. Okay, right.
Yeah, so he's restricted, but other teams can't make an offer on him right now.
Right. I mean, it's a nice little veteran presence for a mostly young team.
Yeah, I could see that, and I think even there, you put him like we said on the power play.
All right,
you get him some ice time with Panarin, with Zibanejad.
Yeah,
that's lethal.
Yeah, hell, if you can slot him into the top power play line, why not? But even then, even if you don't, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can pinpoint a team for Kessel specifically. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think I can pinpoint a team, but I just think that that's going to be my call. Like, it's going to be one of those like top 5 cup, not playoff, cup contending teams. That is like, well, we don't have to. They're like they could pay him under $1 million, and he'll probably take it if nobody actually, clearly nobody's jumping at the bit to sign him. So
yeah, I don't know. I want to see somebody. I think he's still got one more year in him that he can be a valuable player to somebody offensively. Because even last season with Arizona, 52 points in 82 games, he was still doing all right there. And 16 of those 52 points on the power play means he was still doing some damage at even strength as well. But it's just such a drop off. You look at 17-18, 92 points in 82 games. 18-19, 82 points in 82 games. But then after that, pandemic season, 38 points in 70 games, 43 points in 56 games, 52 and 82. Like it's a drop off from what we've come to expect, but still, I mean, a 50-point guy, if he can be a 50-point guy again next season, that's not bad. HP chiming in saying, give him the Buffalo special, 1 year, 750. Okay. Veteran minimum, he'd be at $1 million. So,
yeah, but
we'll at least give him that. But yeah, I think somebody has to sign him. I think he's still got one more year, but I just have absolutely no idea where. I was thinking maybe the Devils, but I'm looking at that situation and going, they got some other guys that they'll have to re-sign first before they could even decide if they have room for Kessel. Maybe Detroit.
I was just about. Damn it, you took mine.
Detroit could be a team where that's a fit. Looking at their cap situation, 10.2 in room. They got to figure out what they're going to do with Zadina, Jake Wallman. But otherwise, they've got some room for this upcoming season to go make a deal.
Yeah,
and that's a team on the rise, team with a lot of your young talent, young stars. Larkin, Verana, not a lot of playoff experience anywhere on this roster, really, but especially with the core pieces that you're building around there, really.
Yeah. Plus, I'm assuming their rebuild is officially over. They went out and signed Ville Husso, Andrew Kopp, David Perron, Ben Sherratt, Olli Mata, Mark Pysyk. Said his name right? Pysyk.
Yeah.
And
Joey's saying make him Johnny Hockey's replacement. I was holding off on saying that one because I thought that might be where you were going to go with Kadri, sending Kadri to the Flames, which that's kind of been kicked around. But again, looking at Calgary's cap situation here, though, I mean, they still got to re-sign Andrew Mangiapane. Still got to figure out if they're going to re-sign Shillington. After that, I mean, they've got $9.3 million in room right now. I wouldn't be surprised if that $8 to $9 million range is what you're looking at for Kadri on this next deal.
Is that overpaying for him?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in comparing contract values and how much a guy should or should not get paid.
No, but we're fans.
I know it's an overpay when I see it. I know it's an underpay when I see it. Cale Makar comes to mind as a considerable underpay. Seth Jones comes to mind as a considerable overpay.
You just had to do that, didn't you?
I did. The Athletic just put out 2 great articles about the 10 best and 10 worst contracts in the NHL right now. And those were your best was Makar and your second worst was Seth Jones.
Yeah, I know. I think he's Stan Bowman.
I had to bring it up.
Well, my thing too, I just say, like, is it overpaying? Because, I mean, well, you know what? That's how it ends up happening, though. he goes to Colorado and he has his best point total of his career at 87 points.
Mm-hmm.
But that, we're fans. We look at it this way, like he was in Colorado. Of course, he had the best point total of his career. Right? Like,
I mean,
and
that's fair, but
he showed up in the playoffs.
He's always been someone who is going to contribute. He's always been someone who makes an impact on your lineup. Points per game this season, he was tied with Mikko Rantanen, who led the team in points. Rantanen played 4 more games, but that points per game pace is the same. So
I got one for you.
Lay it on me.
Seattle.
Ooh. Interesting.
I mean,
that would be quite the sport.
They have money. They have money to burn. They have a state-of-the-art new arena. They are the new franchise, even though obviously they didn't do too well with their expansion draft. They obviously were terrible last year. But again, the only way to go now is up. Obviously.
My only concern there with Seattle is, do you move Kadri to the wing? Because looking at the centers you've got in the organization right now, Matty Beniers and Shane Wright, that's your number 1, number 2 for the next decade.
Yep.
You've got Alexander Wenberg, who they just traded for. Columbus needed to move a little bit of room to be able to both sign Johnny Gaudreau and then extend Patrick Laine. So they picked up Wenberg on that deal. There's your top 3 centers right there. Do you move Kadri to the wing if you're Seattle to get him signed? Of course, we also would be remiss if we didn't mention Elite 1C Victor Rask in that lineup as well.
Well, he definitely goes above Rask. But also, and to your point, though, you mentioned Shane Wright, and who was the other guy? I didn't recognize that.
Matty Beniers.
So I get it, but are they going to be number 1 and 2 right away, like next season?
Next season, honestly, probably. I mean,
Shane Wright, maybe.
Beniers, the second overall pick in last year's draft, coming off a 43-point season at Michigan, 43 points, 37 games there. Part of a ridiculously good Michigan team.
Well, I mean, then realistically, that tells me if you get Kadri in there, toss him on the 3rd or 4th line, and you can kind of switch.
But Kadri's not a 3rd or 4th line guy. Kadri is a top 6 forward right now.
And that's what I'm saying. Look at how deep you are at center then. Look at how deep you are down the middle then.
I mean, but you got to get those guys the ice time, though. They got to develop.
Right.
So unless you think Kadri at center this year, Shane Wright is good enough that he should be playing. He should be playing NHL minutes right now. He's better than playing juniors next season.
Oh, I agree.
He hasn't, he can't go to college. He can't go AHL route like it's NHL or juniors. And juniors would almost be a waste of development for him, honestly.
So move him to the wing. I mean, they got options, and hell, if Kadri's not looking to just stay in Colorado, if he's looking to secure that bag.
I mean, I guess there's
obviously
that.
Seattle has to be willing to pay Kadri, but
and Seattle, here's the other thing that we didn't even touch on so far, is Seattle's only got $2 million cap room. So, unless they figure out a way to move Grubauer, which no trade clause there, that's probably not happening.
They need to move him.
Yeah.
Remember how I said there's only one way to go, and that's up? Maybe that's not the case if he stays there.
We'll see, because they signed Martin Jones. They signed they in the expansion draft had Dreger. So
Martin Jones.
Yeah. So that's an interesting goaltending tandem that they're running there.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure we have a better goaltending tandem than that.
I mean, if we're talking about wanting to secure the bag, just sign a max deal with Arizona. Go to the Coyotes. You're going to be you're going to be first line there.
No amount of money is worth signing with Arizona.
They got $23 million in room right now,
and they better be paying me that $23 million.
Mm-hmm. Go
Ka-
get your max deal, and
Kadri's not going to.
no, he's
If
not.
you put Kadri on a shit team as opposed to him signing with a contending team,
Mm-hmm.
he's not going to put up the numbers he did this year.
He's not, but he's still a good enough player that he can carry a line.
But he's not the type. But he's not a good enough player that you're going to quote unquote secure the bag. He's going to quote unquote secure the bag. You're not going to throw $9-10 million at a Nazem Kadri, and if you do, you're stupid.
Yeah, I don't know. It's without seeing a list in front of me of how much cap room every team has right now. There's still so much to figure out. That he's one of the teams that I've heard him linked to is the New York Islanders. But again,
Yep, I saw that too.
Islanders have the cap room, but they have to re-sign Dobson and Romanov. They have to. You have no blue line without those two. Yep. Once you get those two signed, where are you going elsewhere? They have 4 defensemen signed for next season. Dobson and Romanov would be 5 and 6. Dobson is a solid top 4, if not top pairing type of guy. Romanov top 4 for sure. Plus, you just traded.
I wanted him.
Your first round pick in the Kirby Dach deal, making that work. To pull that all off. There's not the money there. Shy of getting rid of, are you looking at getting rid of Anders Lee? Are you looking at getting rid of Brock Nelson? Not to mention Matthew Barzal is a restricted free agent at the end of next season. You got to have money somewhere to sign him, unless you're letting Barzal walk.
I'm going to tease this for another show topic. Could Barzal be the next Johnny Gaudreau, who just decides, you know what? I'm going to take my talent somewhere else.
Better comparison for him. John Tavares.
Well done.
Yep. Sorry, Islanders fans. Diego, if you're
an Islanders fan.
I'm sorry. What?
You are an Islanders fan.
Yeah, they're my second team, but I don't
my second team, and it's looking pretty bleak for both my number 1 and 2 teams now.
I don't take it as personally as someone who is a legit through and through Islanders fan, and I know we do have a couple who watch and listen. So, sorry to those guys for bringing that one up. We are just about to the end of our show here, but we got to close out the way we always do here. 2 minutes for roughing. Now, Joel, you've done the last couple here.
I even had an impromptu one.
Yeah, you threw one together for us last week when you were livid with the direction
livid.
We didn't even talk about that. I could have given you 2 minutes for roughing here for Eddie O, but you didn't even want to wait for this week's show to get to that point.
I was too pissed off to wait for an actual show to air. That still is, and he goes to Seattle. I mean, Seattle, you get it this week. I already did my rant, and I'm just...
Give me another 5 seconds here to think about what we're gonna go with.
That's fine. I can ramble while you think. I mean, we're not gonna do it this week, but I think I probably need about half a show to settle all the insane fireworks going on in my city for my city's hockey team.
Okay, you know what? I think I got my 2 minutes going. So if you'd be so kind as to put up 2 minutes on the clock for me.
You know what? I won't be kind. Screw you.
Okay, you'll be rude and put up 2 minutes on the clock for me.
That's better.
Sounds about right.
All right.
Brand.
All righty. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Count me in.
3, 2, 1.5. All right, go.
So while I was back home in Minnesota on vacation last week,
South Canada,
one thing that really stood out to me was all of the road construction all around the Twin Cities area of Minneapolis and St. Paul, to the point where you really you could not get anywhere. You had roads that were closed that it made no sense to have them closed, bridge work in areas that didn't need it, all sorts of stuff like that. And one of the most surprising things to me was just how many projects were started. And as I was driving around, nobody is out there working on any of these projects. I think this year it stands out even more just because of all of the other hassles associated with travel. Gas prices are still high. They're coming back down, but still high. Cost of airfare sucks right now. Like flying, the whole experience of flying sucks. Had a flight delay on my way out there. It was miserable. I get it. Some of those things are just going to happen. But why don't they schedule it so it's okay, we're working on this stretch of road first, we're going to do this one. Then we're going to do this stretch of road on this one and not have everything closed at the same time. I get it. You have a somewhat limited window in Minnesota when you're doing road construction. That's fine. Winter starts early and runs late. It's just how it is in Minnesota. It's a longer winter than other seasons. You have winter and you have road construction. Those are your 2 times a year. That said, why not make it more efficient? Get the project done and then move on to the next one rather than start 80 different projects all at once, spreading your resources way too thin. Nothing gets done, and it takes the entire year or more to get done. Just do it. It's not that difficult of a process. Yeah, simplify it. That's all I got. HP.
Yep. Oh, it's absolutely fucking brutal.
Yeah, so, he knows. He drives trucks, so he knows just how bad all of that road construction is around Minneapolis, St. Paul.
I, quite frankly, don't want to hear it. You don't live in Illinois.
You know what?
Idea what
you know what? I'm sure it's worse. I'm sure it's worse. And that only goes to prove my point. Yes, it's bad in Minnesota right now. It might be worse in Illinois. It's the same problem. It's they start a project, they don't finish it. And then what are you left to do?
That mini not dad joke, but dad comment you mentioned, I'm pretty sure we coined it here of there are 2 seasons, winter and construction.
That's been a thing. That joke's older than all of us.
Illinois, man, mile after magnificent mile of construction. Dude, I'm with you. It sucks. I mean, that's kind of how it is here. But also, geez, I did not expect you to go Grandpa Dan on us on that one.
You know what? Things have been pretty good lately. Haven't had a whole lot that's been bringing me down, getting me negative. The concussion was one thing, but I mean that's totally different. Oh, you knew about this.
I did. You didn't tell our audience though about your concussion.
I haven't. It was like a month ago. Suffered a concussion, mild in comparison to ones I've had in the past, but I'm still dealing with some problems with that. So it's not great, but it's what it is. But other than that, things have been fine. So I don't have a whole lot that I've been mad about that can get me riled up for 2 minutes for roughing. So
it's a good problem to have.
It is. I'm far from complaining.
It's a solid problem to have.
Yeah.
I can't say the same.
Well, I guess
I should take that back. I can't say the same in the hockey arena, or I guess.
Okay, fair.
Sorry, sports arena. Everything else is great.
Yeah, other than getting a tree through the building.
Oh no, I wasn't even mad about that. I mean, it's not my house.
Yeah, there you go. That is it for our show for tonight. Thank you to everybody who watched live. We are live Tuesday nights. We're going every other Tuesday night for the rest of the summer until hockey season is closer. But Tuesday night, 7:00 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. Thank you to Noob Sports and the Sports 2.0 Network for giving us this platform and this great network of shows that we can be a part of. In the Green Bets coming up next, right as the clock turns here. Please be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and follow. We are on Twitter at PodSnipeCelly. And in case you didn't catch this one, we did just launch our Facebook page as well, where we're also on there as PodSnipeCelly. So please be sure to like and follow there. You can tune in live. You can make your comments during the show, and we'll put them up on the screen. We'll read them. We'll have a laugh. We'll cry. We'll drink. It'll be great.
Wait, we're drinking now on the episodes? Hell yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
It's summer. I got my hat on backwards. Time to party.
You don't have a hat on right now.
It's fine.
But you don't have a hat on right now.
Shut up.
You're lying to our loyal viewers / listeners, Dan. That's not cool.
Peace, Joel. I'm Dan. Good night, everybody.
I'm going to get you.